right now on 5 on your side at 10.
Tonight, potential water crisis? Why some national experts say St. Louis is one disaster away from a catastrophe.
The infrastructure is being pushed to its limit really on both ends of the spectrum.
Plus, transparency in East St. Louis. The new tool the chief says will shed light on everything from police brutality to filing false police reports.
And our top story tonight, a severe thunderstorm watch in place in central Missouri until about midnight. Whether or not storms, as they continue to move east, will remain severe and when we can expect this severe threat to end.
And that threat of overnight storms has us in a weather alert tonight. Good evening, I'm Ann Allred. Mike Bush has the night off. It is all quiet in St. Louis right now. That could all change while you are sleeping. Weather First meteorologist Gary Frank is in for Scott tonight, tracking the storms. Gary.
Yeah, good evening. We haven't seen too many storms so far, but we've been monitoring the progress of that cold front across the state right now. The wind just blown. It's still out of the south. It's still warm and muggy at this hour. But as we continue to monitor the progress of that cold front, once it moves through, your severe threat is over. Temps still in the upper 80s, even mid 80s in some cases. But look on the other side of this front. You can see where the wind shift has been. We're in the 60s and 70s, and that, once that moves through, will give us a little bit of a break. A severe thunderstorm watch in place through midnight. You'll notice that most of our area, with the exception of Phelps County, is not involved in that. Also behind it, we've just seen that remove portions of that severe thunderstorm watch. That means as that front continues to move through, the severe threat winds down. Once we get that through, that's good news for us as we go to bed. I don't think that these storms are strengthening by any means, but they're almost to Rolla in Phelps County. This storm is not severe, but over the next 15 to 30 minutes, it will still impact. As we look a little further north right now, those storms are not holding together, but I still expect that there will be a little bit of development as that cold front moves through. A few loud storms are still possible. We'll cross our fingers that those storms don't at least cause any damage, but 40 to 60 mile an hour winds still possible. We'll monitor that specific storm in Phelps County, talk about a little further north and what we can expect as we head into the overnight hours.
Remember, you can get the latest Weather First forecast anytime by texting the word weather to 314-425-5355. New tonight, a recent report named St. Louis as one of 5 areas at risk for a water crisis. The CNN report points to the city's aging infrastructure and lead pipes. Our Laura Barczewski is live tonight, and she spoke with local experts closely watching our water. Laura.
Yeah, and while our system here in the city of St. Louis, the water system, is very old and definitely has its issues, experts here say a crisis or even a water shortage is really not right around the corner. The city of St. Louis has water and sewer infrastructure that's more than 100 years old, which is also getting more and more beat up by severe weather.
I mean, that's really beyond we'll say the lifetime expectancy of our infrastructure. And so when we're straining that even more by these extreme events, that's when we start to see problems and disruptions of water supplies.
There are also an undetermined number of lead pipes throughout the city, especially in service lines that deliver water from the main pipes to homes and businesses, which is something Susan Armstrong with the Missouri Safe Drinking Water Commission is keeping an eye on.
Lead is a neurotoxin, and your most vulnerable populations are babies and children.
The city of St. Louis is currently taking inventory of all of the lead service lines throughout and hope to be finished with it by the end of next year. Armstrong says her family was affected by lead pipes and had her kids tested.
And of the 3 children, the 18-month-old came back with high lead levels. So the investigator from the public health department asked me, the mother, could it be the tap water?
And in fact, it was, pointing to an old lead pipe connected to her home, which government programs can now help replace.
First off, dug up the line to show me that I did have a lead service line, and then they replaced it, no cost to me, with a 1-inch copper line.
But does all of this mean we could see a water crisis? Jason Knopf with the Water Institute at SLU says no, but it shows the infrastructure needs updating to avoid it, making things like water rate increases necessary.
The way I think about it is if my roof is leaking, I don't like to pay for it, but I realize that if I don't pay for it, it's only going to get worse. And our water infrastructure is exactly the same thing.
Jason Knopf with the Water Institute says these updates to our infrastructure take time. They're also expensive. But some other things that he hopes can be done in this city are things like rain gardens, which absorb some of that water so that it doesn't overwhelm our systems. Reporting live from downtown, Laura Barczewski, 5 on your side.
Security concerns are forcing St. Mary's Southside Catholic High School to give up home field advantage for Friday night's football game. It's being moved to Waterloo. This comes after a fight forced administrators to suspend last week's football game against Hazelwood East in the fourth quarter. The school posted a message on social media saying those involved in the fight were not affiliated with St. Mary's and no one was seriously hurt. The school is now working on updated safety protocols for future home games. Those include security wands at the gate. Only students with valid school IDs from the home and away teams will be allowed to attend. Student athletes will be limited to only 8 registered guests each. Alumni who want to attend must register with the school. Only adults can bring bags, which must be clear and subject to search at the gate. Students at Alton High School will return to the building tomorrow, nearly a week after a series of fights broke out inside the school. The school switched to remote learning after those fights on Wednesday. Students will be greeted by new metal detectors. More law enforcement and administrators will also be on campus. In less than 2 years, all police departments in Illinois will have to have body cameras in place for its officers. East St. Louis police are already well ahead of that deadline. Today, the department rolled out body cams for the very first time. New tonight, our Brent Solomon got an exclusive look. Brent.
And get rid of the he said, she said, and let's get straight to the truth. That's what the police chief tells me he's most excited about as we sat down in a one-on-one this evening.
At the scene of a crime, police are there to hold the bad guys accountable. But there are times when police officers themselves are the ones abusing the power entrusted to them.
Today's law enforcement has to be able to govern itself better than it has in the past.
It's why East St. Louis Police Chief Kendall Perry is proud to roll out a new method of accountability for the very first time.
It's not going to be he say, she say. Everything's going to be on camera.
5 on Your Side, the first station to get a look at the 50 new cameras each one of his officers will wear throughout their shifts.
These are all the body cams for the department. They also have extra batteries in case the battery runs dead.
Back in 2021, we told you this was coming. That's when the Department of Justice announced East St. Louis would be awarded a $225,000 grant to get the cameras.
It just took a long time, plus with all the back orders and everything, to finally get everything put in. Then you had to get the software. Everything goes directly to a cloud and cannot be taken down.
He touts it as a win-win for both the community and for police officers who are falsely accused.
We've had people come from time to say, well, my officers did this and did that, and there's no real way of determining it unless there's a camera somewhere else. Here, now, with these body cams, whatever you see an officer done, I can take a look at it.
Now, the department has 35 officers right now. Again, they received 50 cameras altogether, so that means there are plenty of extra body cams on hand as new officers join the force.
Tonight, Ferguson police want you to take a close look at this video. Investigators say the man seen getting out of a white SUV at a gas station is a person of interest in a deadly shooting. A man was found shot to death inside his car near South Florissant and Woodstock around 10:30 last night. If you recognize this man, call Crime Stoppers, 866-371-TIPS. Tonight, police are still searching for suspects following a double shooting in North St. Louis that left one man dead and a woman hurt. The shooting happened just before midnight on Page between Union and Goodfellow. The woman was shot in the arm and is recovering. Anyone with information about the shooting is urged to call Crime Stoppers at 866-371-TIPS. Tonight, 2 Jefferson County men are behind bars accused in a series of crimes that led to a police chase that went across state lines. According to police, it started Sunday when the 2 robbed a man and woman at gunpoint in the 100 block of Sheffield Lane near Fenton. One of them took off in the man's Jeep with the woman still inside. Police chased the car on I-55 into Illinois and then ended back on the Missouri side in St. Louis City. 23-year-old Tony Bauer of Arnold on the left was arrested on charges of kidnapping, stealing a car, and resisting arrest. The other suspect, 23-year-old Blake Stedham of Barnhart, was arrested back at the scene on Sheffield Lane. He faces armed robbery charges. The woman was not physically hurt. Tonight, an entire hospital system in Illinois is slowly recovering from a cyber attack. It caused a massive outage of clinical operations and communication systems for Hospital Sisters Health System. Right now, hospitals and emergency departments remain open. Patients can schedule elective and non-elective procedures, but patient billing services are currently suspended, which means stay aware of scammers.
People really need to pay attention to how they're handling their personal information when it comes to the internet, and be very careful who you're talking to about your personal information.
Most phone lines are back up. There is no timeline when everything will get restored. St. Louis is a city built on brewing, but tonight a viral claim is brewing controversy among beer lovers. Our Verified team is looking into whether the White House really wants to limit you to just 2 brews a week. Here's Ariane Till.
Thinking about cracking open a cold one? Wait just 1 second. Viral posts claim an alcohol czar with the Biden administration wants to limit how much beer Americans can drink. The topic even made it into a White House press briefing.
Does President Biden want to limit Americans to 2 beers a week?
Michael submitted a question on our website asking us to verify the alleged Biden beer ban. So let's verify. Has the government recommendation on alcohol consumption changed to 2 drinks per week? Our sources are the U.S. Dietary Guidelines for Americans, Canada's Guidelines on Alcohol and Health, and the Daily Mail interview with Dr. George Koob, director of the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism. First off, believe it or not, there are guidelines for how much alcohol the government thinks Americans should drink. The current guidelines on alcohol consumption were set by the United States Department of Agriculture in the 1990s. The USDA recommends 1 drink or less per day for women and 2 drinks or less for men. That's up to 7 drinks a week for women and 14 for men. Every 5 years, the agency has the opportunity to update its recommendations when it publishes the U.S. Dietary Guidelines for Americans. The next report is set to be published in 2025. So we can verify, no, the recommendation on alcohol consumption hasn't changed to 2 drinks per week. So where did the Biden beer ban rumor start? In a recent interview with British tabloid The Daily Mail, Dr. George Koob, director of the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism, was asked whether he thought the guidance on alcohol consumption in the U.S. could change. He said if the U.S. were going to make a change, it'd be closer to Canadian guidelines, which suggest people consume 2 alcoholic drinks or less per week. But just to be clear, the guidelines aren't actual rules or restrictions on how much booze Canadians or Americans can drink. With your Verify, I'm Ariane Till.
What would you like for us to verify? Send an email to verify@ksdk.com.